Okay, so today's interview is with Mike McKenzie. He's a 7th Dan black belt. So hello, sir. Thanks for coming on the channel and agreeing to be interviewed.
Hi, Spike. It's my pleasure. You go back a long way.
Yeah, I know, a very long way. Yeah, that's it. That's good. So Mike, like as you say, I've known you for quite a while, and I know some of your Taekwondo life, but I don't know every little intricate detail of it. So if you can give us a little bit of background on it. I know that you were the technical operations manager for London 2012, the Olympic Taekwondo event. I know you were previously the GB Taekwondo team manager, head coach at the successful club Quest from Oxspring near Penistone in England. Your club motto is educate, to entertain and inspire. So I'm hoping today's interview ticks all those boxes, and I'm sure it will. So give us a little bit about your history.
Right, I started training in Taekwondo when I was 10 years of age. I went with a friend called Stephen Simpson, who told me about this karate class that I fancied having a go at. I was too young to have seen any of the Bruce Lee films or anything like that. It's just something that interested me. And I went along with Steve to what I thought was a karate class. And I think it was a couple of weeks into it, I realized it was Taekwondo. I'd never heard of Taekwondo before. And I've been training ever since. So, you know, I had 2 weeks off once when I had stitches in my hand, but that's about it.
Okay, yeah.
So the things that, you know, my life in Taekwondo has been constantly involved in Taekwondo. It's not, and my adult life as a professional instructor, I've never not been a full-time Taekwondo instructor other than when I was at the Olympics. So when I was working on Taekwondo. Yeah. So it is a life in Taekwondo. There's a lot of difference. I think lots of people say, yeah, we've been doing Taekwondo 20 years or 30 years or whatever, and they just dip in and dip out, or they, you know, have a break or whatever. But this is a, you know, such as yourself, for example, we've been at it as professionals for more or less all those working lives. So there's a lot of difference there, you know. So there's, you know, a lifetime in Taekwondo can mean different things to different people.
Yeah, no, that's it. And I think that's a good thing about Taekwondo as well, that, you know, it can be a small part of your life, or it can be all engulfing part of your life as well, you know. So you can put in as much or take out as much as you want from it. So no, that's good. So so when you started at 10 years old, what year was that, or would you rather keep that kind of quiet?
No, it's 1979. I was 10. I was 11 that year. So I got my first, it's March 1979. So I was nearly 11. I got my first uniform for my 11th birthday, which was from Sug Sport in Doncaster. It cost £11.70, and it was a Rapper with karate uniform because we don't have V-necks back then.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And so who was your instructor then?
The instructor was Tony Quigley. He's the man who's responsible for bringing Taekwondo to Doncaster. So he was my grading examiner, and Andy Kennedy was a club instructor, but I classed Tony as the lead.
Yeah, yeah.
And Tony was the instructor of Gary Sykes, Pete Adamson's, Martin Baker. So basically all the Taekwondo success you see in the north of England now is due to Tony Quigley.
Brilliant, yeah. That's good. So was he your inspiration, or was there people in the club at the time that you were, you know, that you looked up to and thought they were where you want to be? Or
but Tony was a god to me. You know, it was literally, that was, you know, he's a black belt 4th dan, which was unimaginable, which was a massive and high grade back then. He'd started doing his Taekwondo in Singapore when he was doing his national service. So, you know, it's one of, like I said, he was the one who started Taekwondo in Doncaster. And so there'd be no Sarah Stevenson, and no Gary Sykes, no Mike McKenzie, all, you know, without him. So he was the biggest, you know, he was my childhood hero, as it were. Then in Taekwondo, then you've got people like Tim Goslin, who was a young, dynamic red belt, come black belt, who was one of the leads in the club that I aspired to be like him. And then later on, when I was a black belt and I was a little bit older, when I was in my early teens, I started traveling over to Doncaster to Armthorpe and train with people like Martin Baker and Gary Sykes and people like that. So the Taekwondo world started to get bigger. I mean, one of the problems that I experienced in my early life was that my club was quite insular. It was a very big club with a lot of potential, with a lot of potential members and a lot of success. But the instructor back then, he opened the doors, closed the doors, and that was it. There was nothing in between, so it wasn't enough. So we really missed out on a lot of the opportunities that more proactive instructors created for the students. So I always put it this way: when I was in 1988, I was training personally, I was training 7 days a week. I was, peak of fitness compared to what you could be at that time. And, I had no chance of making the demonstration team 88 Olympic Games because I was in the wrong organization with the wrong instructor and everything. So there's absolutely no pathway for me as a naive 19, 20-year-old to find a way to, succeed at the highest levels, So that's the year that I set Quest up in 1988 after watching the Olympics in Seoul. And thinking, right, the quest is to give everybody the opportunity to fulfill their potential, whatever that potential may be. And that is my quest. And that's why my club's called Quest. And that's why I've been doing it ever since.
No, it's good. Yeah.
Too young to be an instructor, though. I was 20 years old. It's too young.
Yeah. And I think that's a difficult thing. The focus here in Elgin as well. I mean, it's the same. I started teaching when I was younger, probably too young to teach like yourself. But it was a case of if I didn't do it, nobody else would do it. And also I needed people to train with. So you had a club to do that as well. So did you compete quite a lot when you were younger, or because you'd set up the club, was it more coaching for you, or how did you?
I really missed out on my competing years. When I was in the British Taekwondo Association, which was the first Taekwondo body, which was replaced by BTCB, there was only 2 or 3 competitions a year. And they were very small insular competitions. The best one being at the Guildhall in Preston, which was the British Nationals, which was a prestigious venue for a crappy competition, basically. So no, I didn't really compete. Like I said, I started coaching as a 20-year-old. So it's very, very difficult to coach and compete. So I was never really a great competitor by any stretch of the imagination.
So, I mean, talking about, you yourself didn't compete, that's what you're saying, but it hasn't stopped your club being very successful at, at competitions. I mean, you've currently got 2 athletes in the world class program with Team GB, Aaliyah Powell and Caden Cunningham. So Aaliyah in 2009, Aaliyah in 2019, she became the youngest athlete to ever medal at a senior event, and that was bronze at the World Championships. So, I mean, that was your quest. Like you mentioned, you wanted to make sure that your athletes got the chance to be on that podium, or even in that event. So, that in itself, what I've just mentioned there, that's proven that, your quest is working, So, I mean, it must be a proud thing for you.
Incredibly proud. I mean, I'm phenomenally proud of both Aaliyah and Caden. The crazy thing about Aaliyah, when she went to the World Championships, she was junior world champion. She wasn't selected for the seniors at the weight that she'd been competing at, so she had to move up a category. She was in the middle of a GCSE examinations, so while the others were doing preparation camps and things, she was doing exams. She literally did an exam on Thursday, went to the competition Friday, competed Saturday, I think presentation Sunday, and then 2 exams on the Monday for a GCSE. So not the ideal preparation, and it was the first ever senior competition.
And was she injured as well? Was there not something about her arm?
She had a little bit of no. She wasn't injured, but she had a viral infection before so she's not really done any serious training like she had done for the Junior Worlds, which she won in 2017. So she was phenomenal talent, incredible, and incredibly proud of her. Caden was one of those players there and thereabouts all the time. He's won countless junior G-class events. The last one that I had them both in was Luxembourg, which was in 2019, where they both won that quite comfortably, to be truthful. And then they moved on over to Manchester.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, are you comfortable? I mean, I know, like, your quest is to get them on the podium and stuff like that. So that's a great thing. But are you comfortable handing them over to Team GB and saying, there you go?
Yes and no. Yes. That's the journey. As a coach, I mean, it's the Olympic Games. I think that both Caden and Leah could potentially be athletes in the 2024 Games. And if you ask me, would I like to be coaching them and be there in the chair in Paris? Then the answer is a definite yes. But that's never going to happen for any club coach in the UK. We have a system where there's a talent development program where your athletes normally will go into the system at between 13 to 18. You know, they'll go in as juniors, and they'll be involved with the GB system. And I think though the club coach is probably 90% of their coaching, the work, the performance, you know, the European Championships, the World Championships, etc. They do that representing Great Britain with the Great Britain coaches. So it's a little bit frustrating to see to see them be coached, but partly would they get that far? You know, we're all part of the journey. We're presenting the pathway to them. You know, so does it really matter if I'm in the chair or not? Yes, I'd like to be in the chair for my own, you know, kudos and and sometimes I think I could do a good job, but at the same time it's not about me, it's about the athlete and getting there. So that's the way that it works in the UK, where you put your athletes into a talent development program, usually as juniors, and then they go through that system. They weren't the first ones to do it. I had Jacob Barnett was my first athlete who went through. He went through the Fighting Chance program, and he was in the academy for 2 years. It came out about a year ago now, maybe just over. So you know, but very much his goal was to get into the academy, which, you know, and that was what he managed to achieve that. So he's got in there, and now hopefully Kagan and Lee won't be the last one, so we should get some more coming through as well.
I think if you've got the athletes there, then your other athletes are inspired by them, you know. But I think when I had someone in the GB squad a few years ago, it was slightly different because they weren't encouraged at that point to come back to their club and do much, you know. But I think now it is about, you know, I think they realise the benefit of inspiring the next generation, you know. So I think there is more understanding about developing an athlete, but also developing those after the athlete as well. Would you agree with that?
To a certain extent, yeah, it's definitely better than it was. It was a case of, you know, really up until probably 2013, 2014, it was a case of that's it, they go. Yeah. There's no contact with them. There's no feedback at all. There's definitely no reward for the club still. You know, it's not like actually I've lost an athlete. There's very little reward and recognition for you to get into that stage, which I still think there should be something more in place for that. And there was definitely an us and them sort of mentality at that point where, you know, there was, you know, you go to competitions, international competitions, and the British clubs weren't supporting the GB athletes because, you know, there just wasn't enough exposure, there wasn't enough communication, they weren't seen as our representatives, which is what they were, and they saw themselves, the athletes definitely saw themselves as that, but the system didn't see them that. But it's changed very much so now. So I think that there's a lot more availability to see the athletes. I think by having things like European Championships in the UK and World Championships, it's opened the door a little bit, the window, actually it's opened the shop window. So it's inspired people, you can see it, and there's more connectivity with the athletes and everything. And overall, the athletes, I mean, all of the Olympic athletes at some point or other have been to my centre, you know, or done sessions for us and things. So there's definitely a greater access now than what was before.
Yeah, I think that, you know, back in the day that wouldn't have happened, you know, but now it's certainly.
I think back in the day there was things like the Fighting Chance program where the kickboxers and people came in like Damon and Andrew and the ITF people and stuff like that, and it was seen very much as a negative thing by the British Taekwondo community. But the actual program itself wasn't specifically about Taekwondo. Talent identification, talent transfer was a UK sport project. So you've got things like rugby players becoming bobslayers. So it just wasn't communicated very well in the first instance. And what you've got to appreciate is this, you know, from a community point of view, we're very successful as a country now, as a nation, but we're from a very small talent pool where there's only, you know, say if there's only 20,000 members in British Taekwondo, that's been generous. Of those 20,000 members, 70% of them are under 12 years of age. Of that remainder, a lot of them are not doing competition training like that. So we've got a very small talent pool to pick from. And this is a problem that Gary Hall faces, is that where's the next Aaliyah Powell going to come from? Where's the next Kagan Cunningham coming from? You know, there's probably quite a small pool of clubs that are actually producing the athletes that are there, and then the athlete has got to be the full, the finished product. They've got to be the not finished product, but the full product. They've got to have the physicality, the psychology, the technical ability, the tactical ability, and there's some players that can make it as cadets. I've had some great cadet players that haven't been able to, move on to junior, and juniors on to seniors. I've got another player, Alex Foster, who's cadet silver medalist, junior silver medalist. Now he's decided that he wants to stay in the club, and now he's going to, while he's at university. So he's got 4 years at university, and he's still training with me. Now I think he could definitely walk into the academy tomorrow and be fit into that world-class program. But he's made a choice to, not go into it, to stay in the club. So it'd be interesting to see how he develops in comparison to what the
and is it possible for people still to be selected for Europeans or Worlds or anything if they're not in that academy? If they're producing medals.
I think it's possible. I think it's difficult.
Yeah.
Obviously their first choice will always be the athletes that are in there, because they've got more exposure to them and more, more
exposure. That the Americans, obviously with Paul Green and Gareth Brown over in America now, there's certain people saying that, they're not producing the male team side of things, and there's females going that are not from the the academy that they would call it. So what do you think? Is that a good system that they're using, or?
Okay, you put me on a bit on the spot there. Happily so. I think that the UK and USA are very different entities. There's a lot of professional instructors with professional setups around the USA. Thousands and thousands compared to a handful of full-time clubs in the UK. So I think Paul and Gareth are excellent coaches. Again, I've had both of them here at some point or other doing training sessions for me. I don't think it's the right system in America, simply because you've got different. Yeah, it's a size. It's basically a geography thing. It's a size thing, and I think that you've got a very different. Like I said, in the UK, we've got a very small talent pool, and geographically, when you've got the talent development program where you can have kids traveling from Southampton or Scotland to Manchester, which is central. Yeah, it might be an overnight stay. It's not a big deal. It's not. It's not a 3,000-mile flight or whatever. So I think it's the geography of the UK system. Helps it a little bit. And I think you've got a very different Taekwondo community, different Taekwondo organization, and a different sport. Basically, we talked about the lottery earlier on, and that's helped focus. That the lottery funding and London 2012 helped to focus people's mind on, and as football team not being very good as well. Okay, they're changing that now, but we were traditionally a football, cricket, rugby, tennis nation. And we've not had that much success in that. And then lotteries come along and sort of change it all around and said, right, we'll support all the Olympic sports, but we want success. And all of a sudden we're starting to get success in cycling to start off with, rowing, then cycling, and then Taekwondo and things like that. So the understanding, the way that it's funded, the way that it's organized, the way that it's recognized, is very, very different from the States. In the States, people live for, in the summer, you're looking at baseball, and the winters, you're looking at American football. If certain places it's ice hockey or basketball, so you've got to contend with these major, phenomenon. You can't call it sport, it's phenomenon over there. And then you've got the next tier of sports and the athletics and things like that. But it's a very, very different setup. It's a very, very different community. So you've got the way that sports are organized in the States is very different. And then you've got the Korean influence, because there were so many Korean instructors from Korea to America. So you've got a massive Korean community. And obviously it's a country that's used to having a lot of success. And it wasn't, up until probably, 2000 America was, because of the Lopez's, you got guaranteed success, and that ended with the end of the Lopez family, dynasty, as it were.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I think that it was. I mean, I'm a big supporter of the Lopez family, and I think that they were, phenomenal at the time. I first saw Steve in '96 at the Junior World Championships. So I think that maybe their dominance caused difficulties for the USA because other people weren't getting into the team, and so your system was blocked.
Yeah.
And I think that possibly caused some problems for the USA, in that you've got this massive talent pool, but actually it's dominated by one family training out of the garage. And I think that sort of caused problems that have resulted in this new system being set up. And the new system is very much set up on the GB Academy, which works in GB. Would it work for USA? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think I do think Paul and Gareth are great coaches. They've got some great ideas and stuff. But I think also other coaches in America that do the same. And I think it's a case of bringing them together. But is that going to work? Well, time will tell. I mean, that's the thing. I do feel sorry for some of the athletes and stuff. But it's certainly interesting times for them. But
and that's their problem now. Is, like I said, I think with selection of athletes and deciding who goes into an academy, who doesn't go into an academy, whatever. I'm just glad I'm not part of that selection ever.
A difficult one.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you'd mentioned the lottery there, because, I mean, obviously, GB, since you were team manager, GB has changed so much with the introduction of the lottery. I mean, probably thankful to Sarah Stevenson winning the Worlds in 2001, and obviously, the Olympic success as well. I mean, it's just changed it unbelievably, really. The money that they must get given now to develop athletes is certainly, you would have loved that in your time, I would say. And the difference you could have done then if you had that money, I think it would be
successful as we could be.
Yeah,
successful as we could be. If you think about it, we got second in the Junior Europeans with the team. We got second in the Senior Europeans. We got World Cup third place with zero funding, with the athletes paying for themselves. So we did everything that we could do. We got the success, and I would like to have stayed in the system, but I just couldn't afford. Personally, I didn't have the finances to be able to justify to my family, look, I've been squandering money on a team that doesn't actually bring any financial reward to me whatsoever, on the hope that, we basically, you've got to bear in mind is that Taekwondo was recognised as Olympic sport in 1994, at the IOC Congress, so in Paris, which I was there. Taekwondo was recognised as an Olympic sport for Sydney. So we always expected to be getting funding sooner. It didn't. It's not. You mentioned Sarah, and Sarah's medals definitely helped, but the actual Olympic recognition, the fact that we were, if Taekwondo had been in 1996, we probably would have got funding sooner, but it wasn't in the Atlanta Games. So it was recognised in '94 in Paris, but it was actually, Sydney where it made its debut. So, for me, it was just a case of timing was out. And it's a shame for a lot of there's a lot of athletes had a lot of success. Some good ones, good players that did that out of their own pocket. And that's one of the things that does frustrate me, is that the pre-academy athletes don't get the recognition that they possibly should do. Nobody historically gets the recognition that they should do.
That's it. That's it. So I remember a few years ago that you'd mentioned that you went to university. Was it sports management, or what was it?
Yeah.
So I mean, how has your your own management system changed since that position, and is there anything that you see that could be improved at a GB level as well?
I didn't learn anything at university when I did the master's degree, and it was basically putting an academic qualification to the work that I've done already.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a long time ago. I graduated in 2008. And it was basically, like I said, I wanted to get an academic qualification to go along with the life experience that I had. and it was really, it was more a case of, actually, this is just what we've done in Taekwondo. We don't really get a lot of recognition for or acceptance for, especially back then. It's changing a lot now.
Yeah.
But back then, it's like, oh, you're a black belt, better keep away from you, sort of thing. And people didn't recognize you for being an entrepreneur, didn't recognize you for being, for being a logistics manager, for doing all this sort of thing. So there was very little recognition of what we did or acceptance, or, even in the Taekwondo community themselves, you sort of like looked on a bit, people tended to look down at you if they were got qualifications or business management or business experience. And it's like, well, actually, we're running our own businesses, we're doing our own thing. And, so that's what the university thing was for us, to get my, academic qualifications, to give a little bit of credence to the work that I do in day-to-day living. Regarding management of GB, I think they're doing everything right, to be truthful, right now. I think that they're constantly getting better. I think it's a difficult place to be. It's a high pressure environment. Excuse me. I think that they, I think that the results speak for themselves.
Yeah.
I think that the coaching side of it, it's been pretty difficult day in, day out, coaching athletes, and it's a very high pressure environment. So they're doing well, they're getting the results, and that's all we can ask of them, really.
And obviously, because in Britain we have the Taekwondo organisation that deals with just the club stuff, and then we've obviously got the GB side that works on the athlete side. So I mean, I know previously GB had its issues on the club organisation side of things. I mean, I think that seems to be, I must admit, over COVID, I would say that GB, not GB, sorry, BTCB, they seem to have been really quite informative over the COVID time, and I think they offered a lot of help to club coaches and stuff, and so certainly on that side of things, I think they've done really well. I mean, do you think there's anything that they could improve on?
Yeah, I think funding, basically. My friend Ian Lennox, Grandmaster Ian Lennox, but he has a boxing club in his Taekwondo dojo, and they received £2,000 worth of funding from GB Boxing or British Boxing, whatever. So I believe that there should be there've definitely been pools of money about that. It was British Taekwondo's responsibility to source funding, which would have helped clubs possibly.
Right. Okay.
So I think that the thing that we all needed is cash.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I don't need anything else. I don't need. The guidelines are out there, the information's out there, and I think it's good for the amateur clubs to find out. When I say amateur, I mean the ones that are not full time. Because we're not for profit. But we actually, I had my first funding bid into Sport England, within the second week of the first lockdown. So before the BT had sent the information out, we'd already submitted an successful application. So I think there's very little they could do, and I think they've done. I'm also affiliated to WACO for the kickboxing, and I found that they were ahead of the ahead of the curve with most guidance and things. So I'd already got it from kickboxing before. So I think the Taekwondo organisation is a little bit cautious and wanted to, double check everything. So it's fine. They've worked well. They've like that. But we ultimately, when I was the technical director for British Taekwondo, for me, British Taekwondo is not made up of 10 or 20,000 members. It's made up of 200 or 300 club instructors. Look after the instructors, and it's their members. They will look after the members. And I think that that's the way the British Taekwondo should be going, and should continuously be going. Is that how can it? It's not a 10,000, 20,000 member organisation. It's a 300-400 member organisation. And we should be looking after the instructors and servicing and supporting them. That's why I try to influence quite a lot of change for the clubs, such as the downgrading, as the cup grade certificates and things like that, things that were an unnecessary expense. So I think there's limited stuff we can do. Ultimately, focus is your organisation and your concern and your life. Quest is mine, and the organisation, the national governing body's responsibility is to help us to help ourselves, basically.
Yeah, and if they do, it's a win-win.
Yeah,
it's definitely going to help them and definitely going to help us. So yeah, okay. I mean, personally, one of the things I think I wish they would change, and this is just if anyone is listening, the membership, the way that they do the membership online, it's a struggle for me and my students. I think they could have changed that a little bit, but that's just a personal opinion.
I don't deal with any administration.
Oh, you're a lucky guy. You're a lucky guy.
It's the years of experience.
Yeah, that's it. We're gonna have a discussion about how I can develop more after this.
I realized a long time ago that I'm a good ideas guy and I'm a problem solver. Day-to-day administration, you need a team of people to be doing stuff because you can't do everything yourself. And so we've got a club secretary, Richard Elliott, who's amazing and deals with all the membership systems. We've got a chairperson. We have a committee that fundraises. So we just had a barbecue, that was a COVID-safe barbecue that raises about £1,000. So it's about using the resources. One thing that we are, we're a people organisation, and it's like look at people's strengths and weaknesses. So if you have an issue with administration, it's like, I don't like asking for money. So I don't like to. If people ask me how much lesson fee is, I don't know how much a Quest Taekwondo lesson fee is. I don't know how much a membership fee is. I don't deal with that. That's not my. I just know they get great value from me. I can't tell you because I'm not. I have people to promote Quest. We're an organisation. You can't do it by yourself. And if you do it by yourself, what you're saying is that actually you're trying to sell yourself first of all to your members, and you'll either do. Some instructors oversell themselves and make themselves bigger than what they actually are. And some instructors undersell themselves, like no doubt you would do, and that sort of thing, and play down what you like. So you've got these two types of people there. And then you've got things like, if you're dealing with taking monies off of people or bank transfer, it becomes, the relationship changes. And as much as none of my instructors call me master, none of my instructors call me sir, none of my members call me sir or like this sort of thing. I don't believe in all that. But at the same time, the respect is based on when I put my dobok on and when I'm training. It's not about how much I charge or if I find that that element of it needs to be managed by somebody else.
No, that's great. I mean, it's certainly being a club, it is challenging. So if you can delegate, and I think that's where your management skills certainly come in. If you can learn to delegate, then it makes your life easier, and you can concentrate on coaching. And sounds like you've got it perfect. So that's really good.
Very good. It's never perfect. We always get better, but
you're on the right track.
Yeah,
definitely. Okay, excellent. So yeah, I mean, what obviously, like you're saying, your goal is Quest and making it the best it can be and everything. So, I mean, do you have a 5 to 10 year plan for your club, and do you have any that's for yourself as an individual? Are you quite goal orientated, or do you find that what is your style that way?
I think I came back from London, completely changed my life. So I was technical operations manager for the Olympic Games. And I moved in February 2011 to London. I lived in London. And then just before, a month out before, 8 weeks out before the games started, my boss was fired. So I took over as sport manager. So I did the sport manager's job and the technical operations manager's job.
Right, okay.
And it was probably the best learning experience of my life. For a true value to sport, learn the value of delegation, of communication, of management, of planning. We planned, it's like a very simple competition, spent over 2 years in detailed planning of it for every scenario. So, for me, there was a definite London legacy. Now I came back, I was offered to interview for the Rio job, which I turned that down because I didn't want to move to Rio and be away from my family.
Yeah.
I turned down the interview. I'm not saying I turned down the job. I was a sport manager, but London had gone incredibly well, and they asked me to keep, to carry on and everything. So really, my plan then was to come back and teach Taekwondo. I closed my first Taekwondo academy down when I moved to London. So we reopened in Penistone, where I live, and just in a school hall, basically. And I was there for nearly 5 years. In that time, we got UK Sports Club Mark Award. We got the GB Talent Club status. We got an incredible team of athletes. And that was based in school hall. So the natural progression for that was a full-time centre. And when people come to Penistone, it's like, it's the middle of nowhere. It's a farming town.
Okay.
In the Pennines, and it's literally in the middle of nowhere. So it's like, you wouldn't think that it would be able to support Taekwondo, full-time Taekwondo academy. Never mind one of the successes what Quest is. So it was like basically building up the community club element of it, as well as the elite performance side of it, which we've done, and the centres, we're coming up to 5 years now. So that was the plan, was first of all come back from the Olympics, to relaunch Quest, which we did do a lot of changes in Quest, because it's not just my club, there's lots of other different Taekwondo Quest Taekwondo classes around the country, mainly in the north of England. And then we basically developed it, with a great group of people, and we just continue to, it's just basically continuing to develop.
So I mean, that's your club side, the 5 years, it's just continued development.
Yeah, it's continued. The problem is that after London, World Taekwondo asked me to be on the technical committee, and I was on the sustainability committee for World Taekwondo. I was also doing television commentary for a lot of events, so there was I was doing a lot of commentating as well for a lot of Grand Prix and World Championships and European Championships. So I did that. So basically, you got John Cullen and myself were doing alternate events and things. So I was doing commentary, but I was doing lots of other things as well. So and then I was working for British Taekwondo as the development officer. And then I stopped doing that after the World Championships 2015, and then they invited me back, and I was on the board for British Taekwondo until 2019. So I've never been, this is the first time that I've ever, in fact, first time since 1994 that my focus has purely been Quest Taekwondo. It's always been World Taekwondo, European Taekwondo, British Taekwondo. So this is the first time when my entire efforts and focus are on Quest, and that's quite exciting.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, do you miss that side of it as well? Because obviously, speaking to, I mean, I certainly know from my point of view, from the Scottish team side of things, when it was there, I enjoyed going away, meeting other coaches and bouncing stuff off of them and learning so much off of them, and just meeting other people and being around that. So, I mean, I know you've got a team of instructors or coaches that are under you and working with you. So, I mean, you've got those things to bounce off as well, but do you miss the high level side of it, or?
No, very much so. Yeah. I think it's and COVID made it worse. The last event I was at was March 2020, which was the Dutch Open, which was effectively the last G class event before the lockdowns and things for us. So it's difficult not being involved in the World Championships, because I was in 2019, because I resigned off of the boards and everything. I actually I had to buy tickets to go and watch it. So I actually paid to go and watch a Taekwondo event, which I've not done since 1994. So just if you forget how handy it is having accreditation to get around an event. So it's different. Yeah, it's frustrating. And so I had to sit through the NWT coaching course that we've all had to do. So that's quite interesting, having to sit through it and everything. Bearing in mind a few years ago, I probably would have been one of the presenters on it and everything. So it's sometimes you've got to look at things in, you know, in where you are at. It's not the first time that I've not been involved, you know, but this is the first time where I've been totally not involved. And it's, you know, I think you need to have new challenges and things. And my challenge initially with the lockdowns was to get healthy. It was to train more, which I've done. I'm quite healthy now.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen your posts and that where you're training away in the bag and that, so it's good. Yeah.
So personally, I'm probably the fittest and the healthiest over COVID apart.
Yeah.
I'm probably in the best shape that I've been for years. My own personal training is going great.
Yeah.
I've got a great new team of athletes, you know, which is always something when you do lose some key players. It's not just those that you lose; it's the ones that were directly influenced by them. So losing Alir and Caden, or them going to the academy, did cost me a few of the members as well, to be truthful. So it's, you know, it's just always resetting your goals and doing it it's an individual thing. We've got to do it according to the members that we've got. So we've got, you know, we've just done a black belt grading with about 20 candidates from here, and we've got a lot of black belts now that have never been to a competition and never will do a competition. You know, we've got families here that are trained together and things. So you know, it's the development isn't just about sport and performance, it's about taekwondo for everybody.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, definitely is it, because not everybody wants to be the next Olympic champion, you know. I mean, everybody comes into taekwondo for different reasons, you know. Whether it's fitness, confidence, whatever it is, you know, and you've got to respect their goals.
Respect that most people that come to taekwondo are less than 12 years of age that come because apparently, you know, they fancy having a go at something. The parents have seen the club, and they don't come because Mike McKenzie is the sport manager for Olympics. You know, seventh dan. They don't realise the difference between the seventh dan and the first dan. They come because it's the right place at the right time at the right cost, and the friends come. And that's what, you know, people got to realise with the
what a change to someone's life it can have, you know. I think that's important as well, that, you know, that when parents are looking for something for their kids to do, you know, it's important that they find the right place, because it can make such a positive influence in that child's life, you know, really, you know. I mean, you know, you look at, you know, even like your sports people, but also your people like yourself who are, you know, it is a life choice, you know, it's changed your life forever, you know. So I think some people don't. In America, I think they tend to understand the value of taekwondo, but I don't think Great Britain, you know, people of Great Britain understand the benefits of taekwondo yet, you know. I think it's
you don't see, it's like so many people say, oh, I didn't know you were here. You know, this despite that we're involved in the community in a massive way with the round table and all sorts of things that we do community-wise. But if you're not looking for it, you don't know it's there. You don't really care. It passes by. And I think that if people want to travel, you know, some people will come to me, but they'll be just as happy going to the cowboy club down the road. You know, there's 5 miles down the road. They don't really realise, you know, you're happy in the world that you're in until you realise you're not happy. Until you realise, you know, so then we'll get them to come to us, and, you know, then they'll see, oh, there's a big difference between what's available in one place and what's, well, you know, it's where people go where they're happy, really. And, you know, it's difficult to, you know, it can be frustrating when you know that people are being misled, you know, by other instructors and things.
No, definitely. So most recently, you know, you've been isolating.
That's right. Yeah. This is my first day out.
You managed to find the COVID, you know. So I mean, how'd you find it? I mean, was it okay? Your health wise, it's been fine. And
well, they're both jabs, so it's quite frustrating. I was sort of like, before getting it, I'm thinking, I've survived all this time through without having COVID. So I was quite surprised that I got it. And for the 2 or 3 days, I was laid in bed, basically. It was rough, but then after that was okay. And then the isolation was just the boredom side of it. But it's, you know, I've quite a few of my members have had it over the full period of time, and some people had it really bad. Some people have not been so bad. My wife is an intensive care nurse, so she's been on the front line constantly since it started. So you know, I believe that one of the reasons why it's hit this country so bad is because we're not a healthy nation. You know, we have bad diet, we have lots of obese people that, you know, we're not a country that is geared towards health. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've had it so bad. And you look at some of the countries that haven't had it as bad, and they haven't got the same vaccination program that we've had. You know, it's been managed better, but also it's a healthier nation. And that's what worries me mostly, is that people have not learned from this, in that actually, you know, if you are overweight, you're at higher risk of viral infection and recovering from it. If you have if you're healthy, you have a better chance of recovery. You know, so basically, we're not a healthy nation, and we need to be healthier.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that the government really never pushed was, you know, a healthy diet and, you know, staying active. You know, I think if they'd done that, then I think it would certainly have helped. But I guess there's not so much money in that. You know,
I think it's a lesson not learned from COVID. And it's not been learned yet. That message is not out there, and I think it should definitely be. You know, even without COVID, we as a nation, we have obesity as an issue that's causing heart conditions, that's causing blood pressure. You know, all these sort of things, and people need to be healthier. And Taekwondo is one way of getting healthy. It's not the only way, by any stretch.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's definitely a tool. You know, I think there's people have, you know, had it. I didn't have it bad, and I think part of that reason is because I'm double vaccinated, but also because I'm quite a healthy person for my age. And, you know,
your immune system's good. Yeah, definitely. No, that's it. So, like we talked before about you'd organised, you know, the Taekwondo event for London 2012. The Olympics is just around the corner. I mean, I think they've started today. I think women's football was on today.
Softball's been on as well. Yeah.
So imagine being, you know, the guy that's organising this year's event with the pandemic going, and, you know, all the challenges that brings. I mean, you must feel for that guy that's organising that, or that team of guys, you know.
I think it's, I can't imagine what they've been through, because you're working on a day-to-day basis, as in a countdown to actually delivery of the game. And so obviously it's on. It's not on. Yeah. It's going to be cancelled. There's going to be postponed. So that living like that would be very, very difficult. And then so planning. The planning and preparation is very much the same. And we always say contingencies. You know, even in London, it's like, what if this happens? What if there's a terrorist attack? What if there's a dirty bombing? You know, you're always ready for potential situations, but at the same time, this is not something that you could really have planned for. And in many instances, you know, a lot of people thought, well, should just cancel 2020 altogether and just move straight on to Paris. And I hope that Paris doesn't suffer as a result of this game being delayed. You know, because Paris hopefully will be a great Olympics, and you know, they've got all the work's been done in Paris now anyway, but it's 3 years focus instead of 4 years focus. But you know, I don't know. I hope it doesn't have a negative effect on Paris. I think for the actual games, I feel sorry for the athletes because of not having the Olympic experience. You know, the work and you know, I never actually made it to the Olympic Village myself because I was too busy. But I heard stories of, you know, how amazing it was and everything. So I'm hoping that the athlete, you know, they're there to win medals, they're there to perform, you know, so that's what's there for them. I would like them, you know, I do feel sorry that they're not going to get the same experience that a lot of their predecessors got. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know personally, is there going to be an audience at it, or is there no audience at all? Do you know? No spectators allowed, as that's my understanding. So that's going to make it quite, you know, surreal. But I mean, at the end of the day, the athletes are very focused, and whether there's an audience or not, they're still going to go down and do the job. But it's if you win gold and there's nobody there to celebrate apart from your team. I suppose it must be different with your family as well. I think it's, like I said, that's part of the thing that's a shame. I mean, they don't even have the medals put around themselves. They're giving the medals and they put the medals on themselves. So really? The presentation's not going to be the same. Wow, I never knew that. But you know, it's not necessarily what happens at the game, just afterwards. You know, so it's like we've got to make, you know, the big success. You know, it's like I've not been able to drive anywhere recently because there's a lot of Aldi stores around us, and you've got the Taylor and Jade's picture on the back of the trucks and everything, and DFS and all these companies that are advertising now using the Olympic athletes, and you're seeing Bianca on estate agents and
really good.
and the profile's there, and it's like, well, if this success, if our athletes can be successful in Tokyo despite what's going on, which they should be able to, like you said, they are focusing on the professional, then afterwards, hopefully, that will help to still continue this growth of awareness and increase their profiles and things. So I think it will be, you know, the Olympics is not just about the days of competition; it's about the, you know, what comes afterwards. And if you think about it realistically, Taekwondo debuted in 2000. People didn't know Colin, they didn't know Sarah in 2000. It was only Sarah's medal in 2008 that sort of started some sort of awareness. And then obviously the Olympic Games changed everything with the, first of all, with Aaron's situation, and then the Jade's gold medal, basically.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, I mean, obviously the Olympics is, you know, we're saying it's going to start and stuff. I mean, what's your thoughts on, just to kind of surprise you here a little bit, but, you know, your thoughts on, you know, the Spanish athlete, Jesus, it's not going to be able to compete, and maybe the Haiti girl as well that USA have kind of tried to block as well. I mean, it's
right. I think it's
difficult.
Jesus is obviously, his father's a good friend of mine. So I definitely share the campaign. He asked me to share it, so I shared it.
Okay.
I think selection is an incredibly difficult thing. So I'd hate to be on that board of selectors. I've lived through the conflict that's been created in 2012, obviously. And, you know, has a lot bigger impact than people that are not involved in the organisation appreciate. But I think that in Jesus' case, he earned the place. So, and he's still ranked highest, even though he's not performed so well recently in that. So I can see their argument. But if their boy doesn't succeed, then there's going to be a lot to, and there's a lot of political conflict. Much greater than what we've ever experienced. There's a lot more, you know, legal and political conflict in the Spanish Federation. So I'm really truthfully hoping that his selection was based on the fact that he wasn't performing as well and he'd been ill and injured, and that's what the justification for it was. And I think it's a tragedy that he's not going. In Jesus' case. And the WT tried to avoid this scenario after London 2012, tried to avoid this scenario by people qualifying as individuals, but ultimately for the Olympic Games you qualify the berth. So the selectors determine who goes to the Olympics. It's not whether you can't earn a place for yourself, you earn a place for your country. The problem is with Taekwondo, it's not the real problem is not the selection of individual athletes, the fact that we are still a limited participation sport. So there's only one athlete from one country can go. Now that is the real problem. Because if they could say, well, Jesus isn't performing as well, but somebody else is in the top 20 who could qualify, and we could have two in the same weight category, like a normal competition, then, you know, like most Olympic sports, you know, then, or like the bigger Olympic sports, like the athletics, you can have 2 or 3 athletes. So that's what I'd like to see, is like a greater participation, and that way the selection isn't down to one person goes, so he takes his place or she takes her place. The case for the American athletes, I don't know the details of it enough to comment on it, and it's come to light way too late. Anything that's not, these appeals are happening way too late. Now, she qualified a spot for, she's an Olympic athlete, she's qualified the spot for Haiti, and then apparently the pressure being put on to take her, you know, to take her out on the Haiti Federation. It's their choice. Ultimately, they've made a choice, be it because they've been pressured by USOC or whatever. I don't know the details of it, so I can't really comment. Again, she's somebody qualified a sport, so I think it's a real tragedy that she's not going when she's qualified that sport. But the girl that's replaced her is in exactly the same situation, an American-based athlete. So I just don't know the details of it too. But if you qualify the sport, then you should go in.
So moving forward with it, for Olympic Taekwondo, do you feel that, you know, if you qualify that spot as not as in one person from each country goes, but if you qualify that spot, depending, you might have 2 or 3 athletes from that same country, then they get to go. That's your.
I think it's difficult because as a selector, and I've never been an Olympic selector. I've done national team selections before, but I've never been an Olympic selector. And basically, like I say, the GB Academy guys, they are there to win medals.
Yeah.
Now, I look at the case of, I don't want to go into this, but we'll use Aaron because we've got guaranteed positions. There's 4 places guaranteed for GB in 2012. And the GB team decided which weight categories they're going to select. So they went for Jade's weight category because she's a junior Olympic champion. They went for Sarah because she's a stalwart to the team. They went for the 68s because we've got some players of success in that one. Mike Harvey got the world silver the year before. And you got the -80s, which Aaron was dominating, but you'd also got the 87s, which Latela was doing really well in. Now, Aaron didn't qualify that spot. The spot was selected based on Aaron's performances. So it's a little bit different from the modern, the Spanish situation. Now they chose the GB guys, and they made everybody's life difficult, including mine as a low-cog employee, and it made it difficult. They made a decision to move an athlete down, to move a heavier athlete down, to get a medal. Did they do the right thing? Did we lose gold and win a bronze? We'll never know. I just know that Taylor was a phenomenal athlete. He went on to get silver, which he lost the gold in the last quarter. So he's obviously a world-class Olympic athlete. So it's a different situation to that, but selection is probably the hardest, Olympic selection, because you've only got that one berth. I don't think they'll have done it for pettiness or for vindictiveness. In any case, they're going for the people that they think can deliver a medal. So, but it'll never be right for everybody, that's for sure.
No, you can never do it. But do you think that it's more the World Taekwondo Federation to organise or to change it a little bit, or do you feel that it's the best system that can?
If they did change it, the WT put, they changed. I mean, after basically, and it was a British. Remember, as GB pushed the Grand Prix system that we have now was a GB initiative, or it's a World Taekwondo initiative created initially put forward by GB to try and develop this ranking system. So it's the world rankings has changed completely. So now there's no, we know who's competing against who in the Olympics because of the ranking system. Whereas before, I've got the Olympic draw box over there where we pick the, the numbers out of the boxes. So the WTA have done what they can do, but ultimate selection lies with the Olympic Association of that country, and the Olympic Association will go on the recommendation of the performance body of that sport. So it's wrong for you. WTA cannot, as a world body, say you must select this athlete because ultimately it's not a World Taekwondo event; it's an Olympic event. So WTA have done what they can do, I think. Which I think the ranking system is one of the best things that they've done in many ways. So it's not for World Taekwondo to interfere on the selection of athletes. But also then done, if the Spanish kid, for example, went and won a gold medal, only the Spanish Federation people will be happy that they'll have proven the point and everything. I don't think they will, but it's a very, very tough category. So I think that the Olympic selection ultimately lies with the selection panel of that sport, and they make the recommendations. It's not WT's job to interfere on that. So, and if you think about it, let's say WT is still a Korean-based organization, and if they were to say, okay, you cannot take Jade Jones, you have to take so-and-so, look at it from an extreme situation, then, interference wouldn't be acceptable. So
no, definitely. So on a positive note, medals, what do you think? Who's going to get medals at this Olympics?
What, from the GB squad? Or from,
everybody. Everybody, yeah, exactly. That's it, yeah.
Every single British athlete is capable of medaling, no doubt about
I
it.
agree with you. You know, I think they have. You know, I'm excited to see what the medals come out, because I do personally feel that they can all get that goal.
At the end of the day, everybody is capable of winning a medal. Don't ask for the colours.
Yeah.
You dare to anticipate that. There's a lot of people making a fuss about if Jade, should be the first Brit to win it, or first woman, should be the first person. Steve, he's got the 2 Olympic golds, and a bronze.
No one's ever got 3,
So there's nobody in Taekwondo ever won 3 gold medals. So potentially Jade could do that, but so could the Chinese girl as well. So it's an amazing. It's a massive ask and massive pressure on her.
Yeah, it is.
But she's a very determined athlete who steps up for she's world champion. So Jade's got to be a gold medal prospect. In fact, the media's behind that, but some really good female athletes in that category. So they're very, very strong. So I think every British athlete is capable of winning a medal, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I know. That's good. I mean, Bianca, Lauren, Bianca's such a strong athlete. I have my fingers and toes crossed for her. I hope she does well, and Lauren as well. And, and Bradley, has the opportunity to do it as well. And Cho, I mean, I think it's just, it's exciting, I mean, I just hope that it goes really well for them, because I think it will.
I think it will. I'm excited. I'm really excited about it. I wish I was there. I think, I'll be getting up in the after clock in the morning to watch all the preliminary matches and everything, and as much coverage as possible. And I am lucky that I am quite in touch with some of the people over there, so I will get updates and things.
Yeah, that's good. That's excellent. So where are you going to be watching it then? Where's the best place to watch? Do you know?
Oh, you mean for coverage? I think the BBC and the red button will be the easiest one. There's the new there's a paid subscription service and everything. I'm not sure. To be truthful, I don't know. Obviously, I think there's a heightened interest in Taekwondo because we've delivered medals before, so I think we will get good coverage. I honestly don't know. This time in Rio, everything was covered, so we got to see every single match in Rio. I don't think that's going to be the case in Tokyo, which is a shame. But I think BBC will be covering a lot of it because we are a medal, strong. I'm not being, wishful thinking, but the British athletes are all capable of. I think that's something that the media will pick up on and will look for it.
Great, no, that's fine. And okay. So, well, Michael, I know I don't want to take up any more of your time because I know this is the first day back to the gym after isolation. So I know you're going to be a busy guy. So I just, I really appreciate you coming on here. It's always a joy to speak to you. I enjoy conversations. Always feel I learn something when I speak to you. So I do, thanks for that. Really do appreciate it. And wish you all the best in the future.
All about Taekwondo all day, that. So
this much. So I'm always learning. Every day is a school day, So no, I do appreciate you coming on and that'll be great. And we'll be watching this space for the Olympics. And hopefully everybody does well. So okay, right, thank you. Cheers, Mike.
Take care.
Thank you.